Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 7 of the Change the World podcast. Today, I have a really awesome guest that I work side by side with almost all of my clients, which is Martin Tula from 24/7 Insurance. And with everything that's been going on in California over the past couple years, personally, I've had a lot of buyers, and the biggest obstacle we normally run into is getting home insurance. And sometimes we have to kind of explain like why it's so important. And clearly more people have seen that it's more important. Obviously, prices have skyrocketed because of the fires and earthquakes and everything going on. So today I want to dive deep for any realtors that are out there, any up-and-coming buyers. One, the importance of insurance. Two, what's going on in California, because a lot of people, it's not common knowledge on what's actually happening. And three, basically what you have to look out for, because everyone who's gotten insurance through you, from all of my clients, have been very happy with the service. So I want to make sure to highlight that and why 90% of other insurance brokers before I met you couldn't perform the way you have, right? So Martin, thank you so much for being here to start. And let's go ahead and dive in. How did you get started in the industry? Why was this so interesting to you? And you know, kind of tell me a little bit about your story before we dive deep.
Dude, well, thank you so much for having me, first and foremost. How I got started in the industry, it was really actually funny, but not funny at the same time. My parents' house got broken into. So their house got broken into, and they had a small theft claim that they needed to file.
Okay.
And the police let them know, hey, you know what you should do is you should file a claim with your insurance, because more than likely it'll be covered by insurance, right? So let's say they stole about $2,000 worth of stuff, and my mom had a $1,000 deductible.
Okay.
So she files the claim for $2,000. The insurance company sends her a $1,000 check, and the next year her insurance goes up by $1,000 and stays that way for the next 5 years.
So it probably would have been better to not even.
Exactly. It's not. It wasn't worth it to file the claim, because at the end of the day, she ended up losing $4,000 over the span of the amount of time that the policy went up for. So a lot of people don't know that, and they think that it's not similar to auto insurance, but it very much is. If you file a claim, your insurance is going to go up. So that's one of the biggest things that I usually see with my clients is it going to be worth it to file a claim? Let's find out before people think that what you have to do is, if you have a problem at your house, you call the insurance company, you file the claim, and then they start fixing it. But a lot of the times it's not worth it to do that. So I found that very, very young with my mom when that originally happened. And one of my friends got into insurance. So he started doing it with State Farm, and he invited me over to start working with him, because he's like, dude, I mean, you're a great salesperson, but to be honest with you, you're overly qualified for this, because the product pretty much sells itself. State Farm, again, a great company. They do a very good job. But like, or again, like he was saying, it's not common knowledge. They left California. So they left California. They're no longer writing fire insurance in California because of absolutely everything that's going on with the way that California is taking care of its fire insurance. So they weren't giving the increases that they needed to give in price so that these companies were still profitable. So they were losing a ton of money, and it was no longer feasible for them to do business in California. So State Farm exited, and everybody went after them.
Got it. So State Farm left. What other big name companies have left recently?
Allstate left. They weren't writing in California. I'm not sure if they're back yet. Farmers for a little bit wasn't writing a lot of stuff, but I know that they're fully back right now. So Farmers is definitely writing. But a lot of clients are having problems with Farmers, because one of the things that Farmers is requesting from everybody now is that they have to have an automatic shut-off valve installed in their home, so that in case there's ever a water leak, it stops it automatically. But it's like $3,000 to $5,000 to install that thing. So a lot of people are like, I don't want to do that. I'd rather go with a different company that isn't going to require that from me. So I feel personally that a lot of these companies are finding ways. It's smart. It's a business. So they're finding ways not to pay out on huge claims. So imagine if you install the automatic shutoff valve, they're either not going to pay a lot, or they lose that client that's grandfathered in, that's been paying like so little for their policy. And now that client goes to somebody else, and they don't have to worry about the risk on it anymore. So a lot of these companies are just being really smart about the way they're managing it. Sadly, a lot of people end up without insurance because of it. But I mean, it's kind of the name of the game. You got to stay on top of your emails and your letters in the mail, right?
Yeah, and I know from our side, when and for the listeners, when is it required to have homeowners insurance? Because it's not always required, right?
So by law, it's not necessary. Like for example, on auto insurance, you have to have auto insurance. By law, you're not required to have insurance on your home. Okay. You do need to have insurance on your home, or it's good to have it. But for example, if the home isn't yours yet, and what I mean by that is if you're still paying a mortgage on the home is technically still the bank's. So since the bank owns it, they want to make sure if that house burns down that they get their money. So they force you to have insurance. And if you don't have insurance, because again, when you sign your loan documents, you're agreeing and you're promising to the bank, I promise that I will keep an insurance policy on this home for the lifespan of the loan. And if you ever let that policy cancel, or you don't find out and the policy cancels without you knowing, like I said, they force place insurance on your home, and it's usually a really bad insurance that won't cover your personal property and other things, but it will cover their part, and it's usually a lot more expensive than it is to get an insurance policy from a broker or from an insurance company. So a lot of the times people don't realize that, and they're paying $3,000-$4,000 for a policy when they could be paying $1,500.
Got it. And just in a quick express statement or analogy, what was the actual chain of events of things that happened in California for these big writers to leave or policy writers to leave, and how has that affected things? I know in the past couple of years I've run into it. I still don't fully understand exactly what happened or why it happened or what's happening today.
So to try to break it down as much as I can, I would say it started probably 7 years ago. These insurance companies kept asking for increases. So again, they needed an increase so that they were profitable when they were doing this whole insurance thing, because a lot of the time they just continued to lose money year after year on insurance claims. So they were losing more money in claims than they were collecting from their insureds. And they kept asking the California Department of Insurance to allow them to increase the rates. Okay. Any company that is admitted by the state of California has to ask to increase their rates.
Interesting.
If it's not an admitted company, which there are companies that are non-admitted, they don't have to ask. So they kind of run their own show. But if you're a company admitted in California, you have to ask the Department of Insurance to be able to increase your rates on your clients. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's a 4% or a 6% max that you can increase your rates a year. Yeah, the rates a year. So a lot of these companies have started, again, getting small increases. State Farm, for example, I think 1 year got a 2% increase. Next year, they got a 3% increase. But they needed, I'm talking about a 50% increase in the price of these policies to make sure that they could end up paying for the claims, the amount of claims that they were having. I'm not sure if you remember, but there was that big Malibu fire before this Palisades fire that just happened. Okay, there was that big Malibu fire that happened. And again, a lot of money was lost in all of those claims. And again, these companies weren't collecting enough to make it make sense for them. So for 7 years, they kept asking the Department of Insurance for a break or to be able to increase the prices. And the people who choose the insurance commissioner here in California are the people who are insured. So these people are choosing someone who is keeping these prices low, right?
Correct.
But that's not what's good for these insurance companies. So they tried for 7 years to get these prices increased. And also they saw how California was handling the fire mitigation. So I'm sure you saw on the news everything that happened where the fire extinguishers were empty in that Palisades area, or how long it took for the fire departments to get out there, or how short-staffed they were because they cut the budget so hard on the fire department. So it wasn't that State Farm and all these companies were just like, oh, we're gonna leave everybody in their worst moment. It was a profitable decision where they went, we're leaving California because we see, this is, again, 2 + 2 is 4. If you don't have water in the fire hydrants and the fire department is understaffed, this is gonna burn and no one's gonna be able to put it out. And what happened? Exactly that. And State Farm left right before that. So that's why people tried to sue State Farm, and they were mad at State Farm. And again, I don't even work with State Farm anymore. I'm my own brokerage. I do my own thing, but it was so sad to see, because I love State Farm. It was a great company to me. They took care of me for a really long time before I started my own company. So I thought it was really sad to see on the news all the time people saying, oh, you know what? State Farm is canceling people. These people weren't canceled. These people were non-renewed. Every single year, they offer you a 1-year policy. And if 1 year State Farm decides to stop writing in California, they go, hey, we're not writing that zip code anymore. So they received a letter and they received an email saying we're no longer going to write insurance in that area. And people weren't paying attention either to their emails or to their mail, and their policy got canceled and they went 6 months without it. The fire happened and then they didn't have coverage for their home. So it was unfortunate that it happened that way. But at the end of the day, I feel like it's negligence on the part of the homeowner a lot of the times when these things happen. Now, one of the big things that you're asking me is how am I different in that sense? I would never let something like this happen. Not only just because I want to make sure that I take care of my homeowners, but because I cover my butt super hard. So I make sure that I send you 5 emails. I gave you 5 calls. I left you 5 voicemails, and I sent you 5 texts saying your policy is canceling. This is what's going on. I try to hit you from every avenue. So if you ever come to me and you go, my policy canceled and I didn't know what was going on, it was, dude, I have all the proof in the world.
Change your phone number.
Yeah, something happened that wasn't my fault. Because again, here's all the ways that we tried to get in contact with you. So, again, I think it's sad a lot of the times that this ended up happening to people and that their policies canceled. But I think that's one of the biggest things. You know how a lot of lenders say brokers are better. I think in the insurance world, it's true as well. Because with a brokerage like mine, you're not stuck with the situation like with the State Farms. If you're a State Farm agent and one of your clients' policies is canceling, you send them one letter and you go, hey, your policy's canceling, but they don't have access to any other companies except
Correct.
State Farm.
Yeah.
So it's canceling. I'm not going to make money on it anymore. So it's kind of like they don't care. And they're like, well, if I can't make money anymore, I'm not going to continue to service this. It makes no sense. On the other hand, if I get a cancellation notice for your policy from, I don't know, let's say Bamboo, I have Aegis, I have Foremost, I have Steadily, I have so many other options where I'm like, I want to keep servicing this client. These people trusted me. They're not trusting Aegis or Bamboo because they don't know Aegis or Bamboo, but they've talked to me on the phone. I give every single one of my clients my personal cell phone number, and I make sure that each one of them knows that I'm going to be there when they have a claim. So I think that's what differentiates us.
Got it. Now, speaking of, being there for a client's claim, you've been there here, doing this for 12 years. Do you remember a specific moment where you had to fight for a client and they ended up, being super grateful because you were there as a broker rather than, for reference, right? We always refer to mortgage brokers, and I try to have all my clients go through a mortgage broker because same thing, right?
Options.
If you're trying to get your mortgage through Chase or Wells Fargo, right? They're 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. If you saw a house that you loved on Saturday at 12 p.m. and you need an updated pre-approval letter or you need something,
it's gone.
Their customer service line is not going to answer you till Monday at 9, right? Versus a mortgage broker like Spencer that we work with.
Absolutely.
If I called him at midnight on a Saturday and said, "Hey, I need you to rerun numbers for this client," it's going to get done.
Absolutely.
So same thing. A lot of times people are facing these tragedies or something and they turn to you because they don't know how to run the situation. What's a story where you've been able to help someone and you were glad that they followed your advice to get that policy?
I mean, just so many come to mind. I honestly have that constantly because, again, a lot of the times people have a claim and I feel like my job is a lot about just hand-holding people.
Okay.
No one's an insurance expert except me. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
these
and
clients,
they don't know how to do it until they need it, right?
Exactly. So a lot of the times it's just I trusted you with my policy. This is your time to shine. I'm having a claim, help me out. So for example, like I was mentioning, if you have a claim and it's something that's not going to be worth it filing, I make sure that you get an estimate on it, that you check your deductible and to see if that's something that is going to be worth filing. I've had clients, for example, that have had a problem with the insurance company where they're going, oh, well, that's not going to be covered. And I have to go to bat for them. You know what I mean? Because people at the end of the day are trusting me with their insurance. So it's me talking to the insurance company going, why aren't you answering the phone? Why aren't you doing this for the client? And them feeling that customer service is really what I feel gets everybody to keep coming back and to continue to refer their family members. And I mean, to any one of my clients that's seeing this right now, thank you so much for sending me clients and for referring me to all my mortgage lenders, to all my real estate agents. Thank you so much for referring people over. And I hope you continue to like the service that I provide. But I think it's a lot about that. I feel like it's forgotten that this is a people job. I don't know how to explain that, but it's just you really have to be there for people when they need you. And I do that because, again, I give everybody my cell phone number. You can't call a Progressive, you can't call a State Farm, you can't call a Allstate, you can't call a Farmers after 5 p.m. because you don't have anybody's number. If you have a claim on a Friday at 5 p.m., you're not going to talk to your agent till Monday morning. Yep. And that's the difference with me. Everybody can call me, they can text me. That's why I give them my personal cell phone. But again, I mean, it's just multiple situations. I mean, you saw one of the biggest situations that I can say, and it's a test to how good you are and why we work together. You had people whose houses were about to burn down in the 91913, 91914 area, yep. And they were blowing you up because they were like, I need insurance. I don't have insurance on my home. And you called me and we were there and we helped those clients. So yeah, again, it's nice to have that for people. You know what I mean? It's nice to help people and people are grateful.
Yep. And for reference, that fire that we had in Chula Vista, it was fast approaching the Chula Vista area. What was that, 6 months ago, 7 months ago, earlier this year? And I remember I had multiple clients that were calling me last minute. It was 9 p.m., I think, on a Thursday night. And Martin picked up the phone and was able to get everybody insured with the fire literally right there. Yeah. Right. Now, you told me a little bit off air about the memorandum, I think it's called.
It's the moratorium.
Moratorium. Yeah. So can you explain a little bit of what that is and why we were able to help those clients out and what that process looks like?
Absolutely.
In a large, what is it called?
Event, like big scale. Yeah, for sure. So this specifically was a catastrophic event. So when insurance companies see that they're going to have a big loss, like for example with this fire or like with the Palisades fire, they see the fire getting closer, they place a moratorium, which means they stop writing business in that zip code or in that area because they don't want people getting a policy paying. For example, let's say a year, this policy was going to be $1,500. They pay $1,500 or not even that. They go on a monthly payment plan and they pay $120 to get a policy started. And then the next day, that company has to pay out $600,000 on a home that burned down. So again, that's why they place moratoriums and they stop writing business so that, again, people can't just not have insurance. And when they see a fire, they get it for a month and then cancel it once their house didn't burn down. So that's one of the biggest things. And I think it's really important to know that those things are going to happen at some point. I have a lot of clients that call me and they're like, no, well, I already paid off the house, so I want to cancel the insurance. And it's like, this is the biggest investment that a lot of people make in their lives. Like, it's really important to make sure that that's secured. And even if you have a policy that doesn't cover the personal property, for example, or it doesn't cover your loss of use, just making sure that the home itself is going to get rebuilt. Even if you have a really high deductible, you want to have something in place to try to make the policy as cheap as possible, but get that home rebuilt.
So talking about the different levels, right? What are some things that people should look out for? And a lot of times I feel like they just go for the cheapest option, especially when it comes to home insurance. And a lot of times I get the question, like, is it even required, right?
Absolutely.
Even though we bake it into the monthly payment and we have estimates based off of, past history, and Spencer does a really good job with that. But what are the different levels? Like, what's the most protection you can have? What's the least protection you can have? And what are you seeing in the market today?
For sure. So we run a thing called the replacement cost estimator when we're getting somebody a policy. And the RCE gives us an idea of how much it's going to cost to rebuild that home. So that's what we put as coverage A, or as the dwelling amount. So that's what covers the actual structure itself. Then usually you have something called coverage B, which is other structures. That's meaning like barbecues and gazebos and things that are outside of your house, pool houses and stuff like that. Okay. And usually what you want to get is about 10% of coverage A for your coverage B for other structures. Okay. So for example, in a example, let's say you have a $500,000 dwelling amount. For your coverage B, you're going to have $50,000 for your barbecues, gazebos, all that stuff. Then you have coverage C, which is your personal property. That's covering everything that you're bringing into the home. So we're talking about furniture, we're talking about clothes, we're talking about your appliances. All that stuff that you're bringing into the home is covered under personal property, and usually you get 50% of coverage A. So again, in this case, it would be $250,000 worth of personal property. And then last but not least, you have loss of use, which is if the home burns down and you lose the ability to use the home, this is how much the insurance company will pay for you to live somewhere else in the meantime.
Interesting.
And usually you get 20% of coverage A. So again, 20% of 500,000 being, I think it's 100,000 if I'm not mistaken. So those are like the main 4 coverages that are usually on a homeowner's policy. There's a lot other coverages that
is that usually on all of them?
Yes, those are always things that have to go on the policy.
Got it.
And then obviously your deductible is one of the big things as well as liability. I mean, there's a huge amount of things that you can add or subtract from a policy, but the number one thing that you want to make sure that you have on the policy is the right dwelling amount so that the actual structure itself gets rebuilt.
And is that based off of like today's construction and material prices, or what is it? Does it follow a certain index, or how does that work?
Absolutely. So we run it based off of that replacement cost estimator, and that gives you the total what that thing is going to think that it will cost to rebuild it. Outside of that, usually we recommend that every 5 years a customer gets a new RCE just to make sure that, again, they're covered for inflation and everything that's going on. I usually, again, I make sure that my clients have the right amount of coverage because, again, I cover my butt, but I make sure that I cover theirs too. And sadly, I kind of hate to say this on a podcast, but the reality is I'd rather lose a client if they're trying to get a really cheap policy, because I know that later on in life, when they do have a claim and they don't have enough coverage, they're going to come back to me and go, for $100 difference a year, you didn't give me that coverage. Like, it's almost like, I'm going to sue you for negligence, dude. Like, you did a terrible job. So on every single one of the policies that I sell, at least, I add a thing called extended replacement cost, which gives them an extra 25% of that coverage A amount. Okay. So in this case, I think it would be like $125,000 on top of the $500,000. And I kind of use it as an inflation guard. So imagine this house burns down 10 years from now and that $500,000 isn't enough. They have that extended replacement cost that kicks in, and it'll cover the rest of that amount that it's going to cost to rebuild the home.
Got it. And you mentioned, 10 years from now, it could be a possibility. How long do these policies usually last?
So it's year by year. Every single year your policy renews and it adjusts. So a lot of the time,
and it's usually auto renewed?
Absolutely.
No? Okay.
Yeah, most of the time it auto renews because, again, people aren't super on top of their homeowner's insurance. Like, a lot of the times they're not on top of their taxes. Most of the time, just like you've seen with mortgage lenders and with realtors, people really don't know what's going on. So they really trust you to do that job and to make sure that you're looking out for them. And that's, I think, why it's super important to find a realtor or a lender that you really trust and that gives you that good vibe and that confidence to say, I know that this is a person that's been doing this for a while and they know what they're doing and they're going to take care of me. Because, again, a lot of people do a really bad job. I've seen over the years, I've seen like gross negligence from insurance agents where they were writing on a condo, they were giving people $50,000 worth of coverage, and it was like if they had a fire in the house, $50,000 maybe covered the kitchen and nothing else. So it was really unfortunate when these people had to pull money out of pocket to make sure that their houses got covered, and all to save $100 a year or something like that. So the cheapest thing isn't always the best thing, and you kind of get what you pay for.
Got it. Now, here in California, obviously fire is a hot topic, but there's other types of insurance policies that you write that you sometimes recommend. I remember seeing on your story maybe like 2 months ago, I was at the gym and all of a sudden there was an earthquake, right? I saw a couple of like the weights fall down, right? And within 30 minutes, I see your video like, if you need earthquake insurance, we also do that, right?
Yeah.
What are some other things that you think homeowners should look into if they really want to be protected that maybe isn't the bare minimum from the lender standpoint, but, if they're in a certain area where it may be a possibility, what are some other things you recommend they look out for?
So mainly, and that's actually a great thing that you brought up, most homeowners insurance policies don't cover earthquake and flood here in California. So for example, what does flood mean? Flood means weather-related water damage. So the policy will cover non-weather related water damage, which means like a burst pipe or a toilet overflowing.
I feel like that's
like that
very, very common, especially in like condos.
Yeah.
I know there's, you have sometimes not even your fault, right? You're in the downstairs unit, the unit upstairs like left the washing machine on, too long or whatever. And all of a sudden
it's
you're
raining,
seeing leaks coming from the roof, right?
That's the most common claim that I see.
Yeah, and that's usually already included.
Absolutely,
in the condo
that
insurance
comes
and
baked
stuff?
into the insurance.
Okay.
And again, if you're going through a lender and you're getting a mortgage, you'll see that on the policy because the banks require it on there.
Yeah,
the main
'cause
thing.
I feel like that's pretty common.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
actually very common from what I've seen.
Yeah, it's one of the main perils that's necessary on the policy so that the bank accepts the policy. The main actual perils that a bank requires on the policy are going to be, let me see if I can name them all. But I know it's fire, wind, non-weather related water loss, liability, smoke, lightning, explosion, riot, vehicles, and aircrafts. Yeah, like literally the riots that we've been having. Something like that will be covered.
Why do we have so many examples recently? Like, the world needs to calm down a little bit, right?
It's been insane. You're giving me too much work with the insurance.
So the other one I know we've seen that recently was Southcrest got hit pretty hard with the floods and the mainly, and I was living in downtown at the time, and my entire parking structure underground got completely flooded.
Oh, wow.
I couldn't leave the building. The power went out. I remember all that. That night, I actually went and spent the night at my parents' house because I was like, I can't
deal with this.
Well, there's no electricity. There's no nothing, right? I was like lighting candles trying to. But I know Southcrest got hit pretty hard, and so non-weather related is included,
but weather related is not, correct.
So a lot of people didn't have flood insurance.
A lot of people won't have it. But again,
and you'd think in San Diego that would never happen, right? Like,
yeah.
It rains twice a year.
But
right?
then you get Mission Valley, and everywhere in Mission Valley, a lender will require you pretty much to have a flood insurance, unless you're like on a third floor or something in a condo.
Flood
zone? Yeah, all of that Mission Valley area because of the river.
At right now.
Yeah, always. Yeah, literally. This is a big flood zone.
Okay.
For example, I know you've seen in Fashion Valley how it like floods.
Yeah.
Like I've seen ton of car claims for that Mission Valley area. It's been insane. So again, I stopped doing auto because auto's crazy. The amount of claims that come in and just like how crazy that market's gotten. I literally stepped back from auto insurance because I was like, I really don't want to deal with it. And I think one of the biggest things that I always tell my clients is when they ask me about why I don't do auto, I say, you know what? I really go by this. I say it's a jack of all trades, master of none. Mm-hmm. And I really think you have to stick to one thing if you're going to be good at it. Real estate isn't something that I think people should do like a part-time. Like they only give like their minimum effort into it. Same thing with lending. And I think it's true about insurance too. Like I can't be focused on auto insurance and figure all of these things that I'm telling you about homeowners insurance out, or all these things that I know about commercial insurance, or everything that I know about life insurance. So it's really important to stick to just a few things and do them incredibly good. Because I know at the end of the day, people are like, dude, I'll call Geico, I'll call Progressive because my cars are like something else I can figure out. But like I want my home protected and covered the way it needs to be covered. And when I call you, I want to make sure that it's you, the guy who sold me the policy, who's picking up the phone and I can talk to you and I can figure this out with you. Because if you mess up or something happens, like I don't want to call like a call center in India or a call center in South America and try to figure this out and go, I've never talked to this person.
Yeah. And I think exactly what you said,
it's that personal touch.
Exactly.
You have to offer that.
The fact that you specialize in one thing also builds that brand of like, oh, like it's top of mind that's the guy you go to for that thing, right? I know with me, it became more of the investment ADU side, right? So I get people, even though I don't do direct to consumer ADUs, but I am working with a lot of development firms that are building ADUs. I get people at least once a week asking, hey, I want to build an ADU in the backyard. I was like, I don't do that, but this,
I can connect you with somebody that can help
the right person. Yeah. And it's the same thing. Hey, I want to do auto insurance. It's like, hey, I only focus on this, but I can connect you to a couple people.
I think people appreciate that too. Because at the end of the day, if you're not the master of that area, I know people who are the masters of that area and they take care of my clients when they do need these things. You know what I mean?
And I think that's when you become really good at what you do. Like you don't have to stretch yourself thin. I remember when I first got started in real estate, I'd do duplexes and commercial, and I'd also do mobile homes, and I'd also do,
and it's all over the place,
it's
right?
all over the place.
And everything's
so
kind of a different beast.
Good at anything, right? Where now I, specialized in one thing. So I think that's super important. Now, we've talked a lot about insurance. We talked a lot about California and what's really going on. I think a lot of the stuff was super insightful. I didn't even know, right? You're the expert that I send people to when they have questions. So I don't usually ask the questions. But let's talk more about, you've been in the industry for 12 years.
Even your family, I have insured. I insured a bunch of your family. Yeah, your aunt went with me. I think one of your cousins you sent me to.
Yeah, that's right. I know some friends from high school that like their insurance company didn't renew their policy very recently. My entire team uses you. I
think that's when you really like. I think that's when I knew that I did a good job with you, because one thing sending a client over, but when you're sending over your family, it's, dude, please take care of my aunt, please take care of my cousin, of my mom. You know what I mean? Like, that's really when somebody has like that trust in you, where it's just like, if I had to insure my home, it would be with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'll be using you in the near future when I get my primary. So the other thing, you've been in the industry for 12 years, very similar to real estate. This is an industry where, well, first of all, you look super young, because I thought you were my age when we first met, but then I saw you were married and everything, and I was like, oh, shoot, he's actually a lot older than me.
Not a lot older. You're killing me here.
But to be in this industry for 12 years, the failure rate is really high, right? What are some things that you've done to be able to build your business and see it grow? Non-related to insurance, just what are some business tactics that you have that have been able to help you scale, have been able to help you grow? You have teams and employees now, from what I've heard, and everything else.
Absolutely. Yeah, I have people that help me with the service side, but I make sure to take care of everything that has to do with the policy itself. So they help like answer some of the phone calls and get some of the information so that I can work on the quotes, but it's always me working on your quotes. It's always me handling everything that's important to it.
Yeah. So what are some recommendations for someone who's starting off in the real estate industry, whether as a realtor, lender, insurance broker, that you'd recommend to a younger, kid in their early 20s that wants to get started in order to be successful and not fail out of the industry? Because I think for the realtor side, and I don't know what it is for the insurance side, I think it's like 85% of realtors end up quitting in the first year, and it's like,
it's kind of the same thing with the insurance. Yes. Honestly, like I've seen them drop like flies, specifically because, again, it's not to brag, but just no one does it the way we do it. And I think it's because we love it, and because we're good at it, and because you know what you're doing. So I think if I had to give somebody some advice, it's make sure that this is what you love and you really like helping people and you like dealing with people. Because if you don't like it and you're an introvert, maybe lending might be a good side, but definitely not the real estate side and not the insurance side. Like, you have to talk to people. You have to be personable. Problem solve so much, dude, all the time. I would say definitely.
So when you got started, how long did it take you for it? Because for me, luckily, when I got started in real estate, I was 18 and I was doing it part-time because I was going to college. So I was living with my parents then. So I was able to survive the first 2 to 3 years, where normally, if you're starting off later on in life and you have kids and a mortgage, I could not have survived, right? Now I got to a point, 6, 7 years in, where it's a consistent business and I've built the reputation, but it took 7 years. It's not an overnight success. It's not what you see on Selling Sunset that tomorrow you're going to make $1 million, right? So how did the first couple years in the industry go? And do you remember the time where you were literally putting in, the 20-hour work days, to make it happen?
I still am. Honestly, I love what I do. I think my wife, I love her so much. Shout out Claudia. She always tells me that she's proud of me, dude, because I literally work 12, 15, 20-hour days sometimes, dude, because I want to make sure that I get back to every single client. Like, everybody is important to me, not because I have your policy already. I'm going to not call you back, or I'm not going to get back to you. Like, I take that name, Mr. 247, that's on my Instagram. I take that super seriously. So I think it's important that the clients really know that that's you and that you're going to really be there for them. And that's, I would say, if I could recommend to anybody a way to fix your business or to make sure that you succeed, it's being there for people, answering the phone. I can't tell you how many people just don't pick up the phone. It's frustrating.
Yeah, same thing. I call so many realtors. I'm like, how are you in business, dude?
I've
called you 4 times.
I sent you an email last week. Can I get this quote back? Like, this is like, it's important to me. Like, I mean, you've seen the way I work. I get something back to you within an hour or two. If you send me something, I work on it. I get it back to you. And then like when I'm done sending quotes, I work on a lot of the customer service stuff. But I just think it's important to give people what they need. And I try to do that for everybody, dude. So again, that 24/7 thing, I take it really seriously. And other than that, I want to make sure that you feel important, because your business is important to me. I know your clients are important to you. So I need to make you feel that your clients are important to me and that you're important to me, and that you're not just another number and another call or another person that needs insurance. You know what I mean? I make sure that everybody feels that way when I work with them. So yeah, and again, I love working with you, man. Specifically because of that.
Thank you. So I think very similar, you know, the two things I heard here, the guest before, he's been doing his business for 10 years. And he's also super young, and he was basically saying like, there's no luck, right? It's all hard work.
It's all hard work.
Same thing. Your literal brand is 24/7,
Yep.
right? And then the second thing is caring more about people than about the paycheck.
100%.
Right? And I think, you know, a lot of people, the motivation when they get started is making quick money, and that's why they fail out of the industry. Because I've had so many deals where things went south, I had to come out of pocket to make the deal happen. You know, instead of making a commission, I ended up losing money on the deal. But there's no client that I've worked with that can say like, hey, he didn't do his best to have my best interest in mind. And I think you've done the same.
I love hearing that from your clients, by the way. Like, anytime I've had to deal with your clients, dude, and I'm not talking about your family, like the actual clients that you send me, which have been a ton, every single one of them is like, oh no, yeah, he's super nice. You got ahead of everybody. Like, not even the lender was able to send me the insurance before you did. You already made sure that they knew where everything was going, what was going on. You recommended me so that I could help them with some numbers so that they already understood it. And by the time the lender got involved, most of the time, they already had a quote, and they had already said, we're going to go with that. So a client didn't have to worry about that down the line.
Yeah. And it's, you know, things that have held up deals in the past, and you kind of learn from it, right? I know when I first got started, I didn't even know what home insurance was, right?
Is that necessary?
Yeah. Are you sure we need that?
Do we have that?
So last but not least, you know, I kind of want to wrap up. The name of the podcast is Change the World, right? So through my career and through the example of my parents, it's always been like, yeah, like business is super important, but it's all about leaving a legacy and being able to help others along the way. Right? Obviously, we do that through our jobs. But what is something for you that you'd like to leave a legacy? Like, if someone was to remember Martin, what do you want to be remembered for, both inside the industry and outside, in leaving an impact in the world?
I would say I would want people to remember that I cared about them, that I took every single client from point A to point B, and that I was always there for them. And other than that, I would literally want it on my tombstone where it says Mr. 247, that they know that I worked my ass off to build this. This wasn't something that somebody gave me. This wasn't something that was luck, like you're saying. It's you and me. We worked our ass off to get where we are. And when they see this giant monster of a business, it's going to turn into, which again, I'm always putting those positive vibes out into the world. When I finish building it into that, I want to look back, and when people are like, oh, he's so lucky he has that, I'll be like, no, I worked my ass off. And there's podcasts with my friends and with people that are like-minded that can prove to you just how hard I worked and how much we made this really make sense for people.
Yeah, awesome. And I know you mentioned putting it out. What is that vision for your business moving forward? 5-10 years from now? You've already been doing it for 12. Do you have an end goal in mind, or is it more like short term, or what?
No, I have big dreams for it. So the idea is to continue growing into other states. Like, for example, I'm already licensed in a couple other states, but to continue to get more states and help other people grow. Like, I love working with a lot of my assistants. One of them is about to go get her insurance license. So again, I want to help her whether it's grow into her own business or, again, continue to work with me and just be super successful at working with me. I know that there's people in Arizona that could use something like that. I know that there's people in Texas that could benefit from, again, the knowledge that I can give them, and I can help them get started and build those relationships and to network. Just like you and me met. I mean, you're amazing at networking. I think that's one of your key things. If you could say anything about like how you've grown into this, I would think that you would say networking has been one of the biggest ones, because you know everybody. I talk to people and I'm like, oh yeah, I was talking to Miguel. They're like, oh yeah, I know him. Yeah. Everybody knows you. Everybody knows like what you do.
You know what's really funny and has helped a lot with that is through social media, people post what they care about, right? Like a life event, right? They got married, they're taking a trip, they're doing that. I watch stories, and I don't know if it's subconscious or what. I remember small little details about people. I run into them wherever, and I'm like, hey, 2 months ago you were in Cancun. How was the boat ride? How was the snorkeling trip? How was this? Right? And it's like so much easier because everyone's posting about their daily life, and it's like you go to a network event. Yesterday I went to a brand new gym to go visit with my cousin. I ran into like 7 people. Like someone tapped me on the shoulder, was like, do you remember me? I'm like, dude, I have no clue. He's like, yeah, my mom used to work with your dad, and like I remember you like were like such a nice guy. I was like 4 years old, and I was like, dude, people remember. Like, so I try to like keep little details about people in the back of my head.
It's caring though, you know what I mean? Like you see something like that and you care, and you're like, oh, how was that? It's not just like, oh, I'm gonna go find that person to talk about that snorkeling trip or whatever. It's just like, no, you saw something like that and you make it natural, and people can see that. I think that I've always seen that in you. Like even with our relationship and us hanging out, it was always that. And one of the things I also...
Well, we ran into each other at the cigar lounge.
Absolutely.
There in Chula Vista, not too long ago.
We got to go again. But I think, again, one of the things that is really cool about you too is that you help people network. So I think I know that about you, for example. Like anytime that I've ever been around you and you have people around you, it's, hey, this is Martin, he does insurance just in case. And like you introduce everybody to each other. So again, I think that makes you really successful. And that's been one of the main things that's helped you, because you're always nice and you try to hook people up instead of just like, don't meet my connects. You know what I mean? A lot of people are like that. It's weird.
It's a, like you said, it's a people business. It's a world where it's run by people. So you literally that's why I love this industry. Like it's not really hard, because you just care about people and you connect people, and that's
I feel the same way. Yeah. I love what I do. And honestly, people would be like, oh my God, dude, this guy works 10, 15 hours a day. Like, how does he do it? I'm literally at the office just listening to music in the background, like just blasting through emails, and I'm having a great time doing it, talking to my clients. I have them saved, like, and with like little things about each one of them. Like, for example, what kind of policy they got, or like where they bought. So they bought 2 years ago. I'm like, it's really weird when you call like Allstate and it's like, thank you for calling Allstate. This is Martin. How can I help you? Versus like you call me and it's like, Miguel, how's it going? How you been? Hey, how's it going with the new purchase? Any problems with the house? Don't tell me you're calling me about a problem. It's really weird when your insurance agent answers like that, because it feels more like you're talking to a friend or like family, versus it being like, hello, thank you for calling, like Farmers, Allstate, State Farm. It's different.
Yeah.
I like to tell my clients, honestly, I tell every single one of them, I'm like, I'm really different. It's more of a VIP experience. If you're working with me, it's like your family. Like, I'm going to take care of you. It's a different relationship. You're always going to talk to me. It's really funny. Most of the work my assistants do isn't customer facing. I'll talk to one of my customers and they'll go, oh, well, I need to make my payment on policy. Perfect. Here, let me take that information. And then I'll give it to them so that they can make the payment on the back end. Like things like that. So most of the time I'm talking to people, and I think they really like that it's not like there's this chain of command where it's like, I'm having a problem, let me speak to the manager. It's like, dude, I'm the owner. I'm the guy who services it. Like anything you need, you call me. I'm happy to help. Text me if I'm not available, if I'm on the phone with another client, text me. I'll text you right back.
Yeah.
It's personal. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys again for joining us on episode 7. Really happy to have you. Thank you for coming on, and we'll keep these episodes going and hopefully drop a little more knowledge and inspire some of you to keep pursuing your dreams.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me, brother.